I was going to say something about the polls earlier, but I think just basically looking at all these things that are happening after these the primary polls, that when they're asking people after the polls are over, a lot of them, again, we played this last week. You see a lot of people are basically saying, I'm not voting for this guy. It's just not happening. I did not hear that in prior elections. I didn't hear the anger and the, sort of dismay towards Donald Trump that I do hear on these exit polls in these. So that's encouraging. It's encouraging that Biden is breaking records when he's raising money. There's all kinds of encouraging signs. You and I have talked about this before. I do believe at the end of the day, America comes to their senses and says, all right, we got to vote for this guy. Still a little worried about these progressives who are pissing me off.
Right.
Speaking of, by the way, these talk show hosts, I don't know if you saw Jon Stewart the other night, but he kind of reeled back a little bit of his initial show where he was basically being up on Joe Biden the whole time. And it's he did a great job, and it did a great piece last night on, how Republicans think they're more patriotic than everybody. They think that, they do this stuff. And then also got into the dangers of if they take over. And that's why I kind of look at John a little bit now based on his first show. And I'm like, it's kind of hard to take this serious now after you said that. It kind of bothers me that, he said that, and maybe he walks it back. Maybe he just goes on and hopes, it doesn't come up again. I don't know what the thing is. And I'm sure he meant what he said, but it's just kind of, I don't know. This is just not time. I don't know. I same thing with the progressives. I just don't understand where they think that this is the time to make your stand. Let's win this fucking game right now, and then do all the Biden bashing you want.
Right. But he's getting bashed for something he can't control. So that's even the worst. And I thought I read somewhere that there was some type of tentative peace talk.
There is. I mean, and they're doing everything they can. I will, just from what I've gathered, and this is coming from people who I respect, that I listen to, that some of them are even saying that, Joe Biden's inaction here does make him look a little weak in this, in this whole thing. And, maybe not. You've alluded to a lot of times, and that Joe Biden could be working behind the scenes. And they even brought that up, but they were like, well, when are we going to do something? What are, because we're basically letting
in action, stop giving them weapons. Like, are we giving them weapons right now? Like, I don't know what.
Well, they're still giving them aid. They're still So, and they're giving them weapons and aid. So, it's, and through financial aid.
Real aid? Like, what happens then?
If what?
Now I said, can we stop giving Israel?
Well, that's basically what it comes down to. If they stop giving them the financial aid, then it's pretty much over for them. Now, from my understanding, Benjamin Netanyahu is going to do whatever the fuck he wants, no matter what, and he's going to handle it his way. And it's such a difficult and complex situation that they're still hostages. Jewish hostages. There's all these people that they want to get back. This Hamas, they're not like an army. Obviously, there are people who live amongst the citizens there. So, what do you do? It's just such a complex thing. It is, and it sucks.
Even if you agree to a ceasefire, because I think they were saying this kind of happened before. Like one side would stop, and then the other side would pick up their arms.
Well, and that's the problem is they have that fear, is that there's a ceasefire, and next thing you know, Hamas comes in, does another, just this. I don't know. And again, I'm not the person to be talking about, to be honest. I don't know a whole bunch about it. There's things that I do know. One thing, any innocent human life being taken for just ridiculous reasons or no reason whatsoever is terrible. And, this idea that Joe Biden should wave his magic wand and solve all this is, to me, absurd. I know there are things that we can do on our end. Is it the right thing? Is it not the right? I'm sure any progressive watching this would be, oh, you support genocide. I don't. I mean, but
like, who supports genocide? I wish they would stop saying that. That is just
I
the
know
most ridiculous fucking thing on the planet. Like, should we say that if you're not out here protesting about the kids that were murdered in Uvalde, like you support
correct.
the genocide of young kids and no, that's just
There's a grievance no matter what, especially with progressives. Let's say Joe Biden does exactly what he wants him to do. It's just going to go to another subject so they can go on Twitter and TikTok and complain and act like they know more than everybody. And I'm not trying to diminish their message, and I'm not trying to diminish, what they're trying to do. But as I've said a million times, the progressive movement is done if Donald Trump wins. If Donald Trump wins, the progressive movement has no more progress. The progress is done because you are now going to have a stacked Supreme Court for the rest of your fucking lives because you decided you were going to take a stand on this one issue that has nothing to do with the United States. Well, I shouldn't say nothing because there are Muslim Americans that live here. There are people here that it does affect, but for the overall, what's going on here in this country, I can't discount that because of what's going on over there. I just can't. I'm sorry.
No, and no reason to be sorry because that's a great point. The progressive movement, your movement ends with a Donald Trump presidency. You're absolutely right. There's no more movement. Climate justice, the fuck you think? He's going to give the red light to pollutants up and down. There's not going to be any regulations. You're not going to have any birth control. They want to raise the age of voting. Like you may not even be able to vote the following year if you're like 15 now. They put that to 21.
Right.
They're taking your rights away too.
Yeah, it's crazy. The word progress is a derivative of progressive.
Yeah.
And they're not interested in progress. They're interested in get to the fucking finish line, however they think. And I don't know how they think they're going to get there, but there's only one way. There's one path to getting to what you want. And I'm all for the progressive movement. One, at some point, as I get older and, this country is going to be more and more for the younger people, and they're going to have to live in this country for a lot longer than I'm going to have to live in it. And I understand that. And I am fine with a movement that they feel comfortable with in this country as time goes on. But again, I'm not sure what the play is here. I'm not sure if they're thinking correctly. And I think their heart's in the right place, but I'm not sure their head is.
No, it's not, because they think they're going to punish Biden and, keep saying Biden doesn't get punished with you not voting for him. Biden will go home with Jill if he's not the president, and then they will live the rest of their lives out in comfort.
No, maybe not. They could be jailed.
Well, they could be, but they won't. I mean,
yeah. Well, just like I said last week, too, the spoiler alert, the progressives are talking their shit now. They will vote for Joe Biden. I promise.
Yeah. Like, Snacker, you don't have a choice. Like, you really want Donald Trump, the dictator?
Yeah.
Well, Donald Trump wants to release prisoners, the insurrectionists that he keeps calling hostages.
That is insane. And by the way, speaking of, one last clip here. This is Donald Trump talking about fucking Viktor Orban. Listen, listen to this.
That's better, smarter, or a better leader than Viktor Orban. He's fantastic.
By the way, he's acting Mar-a-Lago.
And does a great job. He's a non-controversial figure because he said this is the way it's going to be, and that's the end of it, right? He's the boss. And he's a great leader, fantastic leader in Europe and all over the world.
All over the world respected, he says. He says that he just does what he wants, and that's why he's non-controversial. Viktor Orban's another one of these far-right nutbags who think everything should be, run by the Bible. They, that the press and, journalists should be suppressed over there. He cheats in elections, literally cheats. And that's exactly the kind of country that Donald Trump wants. And sadly, there are a bunch of people here in this country. In fact, Jon Stewart played it on the show a little bit the other night, some interviews of people and asking, would you be happy with a Trump dictatorship? And they were saying, if he says that we need a dictatorship, then that's what, yep.
We must need it. If he said we need to be flogged, we must need to be flogged.
And they have no idea. They just don't know what's coming. It's just so frustrating.
Yeah.
And again, all these people being interviewed, not one of them talked politics before Trump. Not one.
Right.